Thank you, Sebastian, for such a great and kind introduction. I'm really happy to be with you all today, at least virtually. I hope next year we will be able to meet and greet in person. I'm also very grateful to the whole machine learning conference team for this opportunity uh, to present my view on the incredible potential of AI. Like Sebastian mentioned, I work at a tech company using AI called Untried, and where we use AI to create what I call an internal brain for companies, for enterprises. In short, we connect people with the right information, which is especially crucial in time-sensitive situations. I strongly believe that AI will be the defining technology of our times. And in today's talk, I will explain why you and me, as consumers, uh, builders, or decision makers, should start embracing and advocating for AI in our lives and in our everyday lives and in our workplaces. I will also share with you a couple of examples of projects I've heard of or I've been working on where AI has been used to improve both commercial and public focused outcomes. This is how some of the smaller police forces in the UK save our lives today. When you call an emergency number, the officer on the other end writes down everything what you said in a Windows notepad or similar app. This information then has to be transferred to the dispatch officer who analyzes what's in this information. For example, they check the information against vulnerable people databases, vehicle registration, or crime information systems. And this is all done manually. Can you imagine the stress? Someone is crying, or may be crying and yelling on the other end, and you are trying to find the correct window and search through the late 90s intranet-like systems. Technology should serve us, not the other way around. My colleagues and I think that the current way of working and drawing from company know-how is broken. That's why we are on a mission of giving people back the control over how they interact with data and the knowledge locked in it. If we are able to do that, employees could work more independently, test ideas, and build on top what's already been done and saved. The company tribal knowledge, or collective knowledge, as I call it. To get there, we need to tackle one of the biggest problems most of today's organizations face, which is siloed data. But AI, luckily, is our biggest hope that can fix it. Firstly, I want you to notice that you're surrounded by AI-powered inventions, often without even realizing that they use AI. Alexa, Uber, Amazon recommendation engines, they are all stuffed with AI. AI-powered robots are everywhere, from those cleaning your home, also used by your pets as a means of transport, to AI-enabled drones delivering blood in the most remote places. These are all examples of specialized AI, as there is no such thing as an artificial general intelligence, the super intelligent agent that can understand and learn any intellectual task as a human would do. All examples of AI I'm giving you here are examples of a specialized or narrow type of AI. But as with any new technology, any new trends picking up, remember that big data, VR, or blockchain, people rush to predict huge breakthroughs in the next few years, but it usually never happens. It takes time to get adoption of the new technology, but once it's mainstream and the trust to it is established, the benefits and number of applications grow exponentially. Because we humans tend to overestimate the impact of technology in the short term, but underestimate it in the long term. And this is called Amara's law. Right now, AI is only starting to get real recognition, but the benefits of applying it will be countless. So, what makes AI such a big deal comparing to previous technologies ever created? So, as humanity, we progressed due to our unique ability to learn and create complex reasoning. Because of this learning, we can progress at scale. That's also the main domain of AI, as it makes it it makes it stand out from any other technology that has ever been created. AI can learn anything very quickly from our interactions with it, meaning its intelligence is increasing. In 2013, AI had the same intelligence as a 4-year-old kid. By 2029, studies forecast that AI will likely surpass the human intelligence. But it can do amazing things already. So there are many types of AI, from deep learning to machine learning models, of which a perfect example, and I'm sure you've seen at least one, is popularized by news, deep fakes, or Tesla self-driving cars and self-diagnosing NASA rovers, which use machine learning to to constantly analyze data coming in, and they predict what's the best next move. There is also a whole area of AI making sense of text, voice, and all unstructured data. That's called natural language processing, and that's my domain. For those getting familiar with AI, these are just computer algorithms designed to make decisions, often using real-time information, real-time data. And there is no magic to it. It's nothing like the scary Terminator robots that is a threat to humanity. On the contrary, AI is like any other technology created for humans by humans. And I'm sure you've seen this picture of Margaret Hamilton standing next to a pile of printed out code she wrote for NASA. This is the logic that took the first humans to the moon. But AI is completely different game. Here, you train machine learning and AI models by feeding them examples, similar to how children learn. And fun fact, you are training AI models without maybe realizing it. These captcha looks familiar. These are type of captchas used, in fact, to train self-driving car models so that they can recognize different elements in the environment. And that brings me to one of the biggest obstacles in our lives when it comes to using data, data, actually using computers, data, or rather huge amounts of data versus our human limitations. This is the reason why AI is such a game changer that can improve exponentially the way we live and work. Because we humans cannot possibly grasp all the amount of data available and make sense of it instantly. This is not how our brain works. That's because for us, data is simply overwhelming. According to American psychologist George Miller's study conducted in 1956, human brain can only consume so much information before becoming overloaded. In fact, most people can handle only 7 chunks of information, plus minus 2, at a time. And you've probably heard of the paradox of choice, where having more choices, more options, actually makes us unable to take a decision. Now, think of how many databases and systems you need to interact with at work every day. Scattered data is difficult to manage and make sense of, and we cannot possibly see how everything is linked and relates to each other. To each other. Lots of things are, in fact, overlooked, and people use their gut feeling instead of taking decisions based or at least supported by data. So what happens when these employees, these senior employees, leave or retire? Usually, that knowledge, that tribal knowledge, dies, and then it has to be rediscovered, often at a greater cost. Instead of reinventing the wheel, we should be drawing from the expertise of our current and ex colleagues, because so many answers to your current problems have been probably already answered, already saved somewhere, and they now sit in silos such as emails or support tickets that no one ever took time to codify. So tribal knowledge, or what I call collective intelligence, means basically all the unwritten information and practices that are part of everyday company. Usually they are not codified or standardized, as I said, and they typically live in heads of few senior employees who have been there and done that for a while. And what's scary is that the amount of tribal knowledge in a company is directly proportional to the years of existence, the growth, and the underlying complexity of products or services. And it may surprise you, or maybe not, but the tribal knowledge can account to up to 50% of work in some cases, in some organizations. Luckily, AI comes to rescue. Even though most of that tribal knowledge hasn't been codified, it lives in a form of a free text in support tickets or emails or email conversations or reports. And AI, specifically natural language processing, the NLP, can tap into that unstructured data and it understands the context, and then it can pull that information out to the new employee. So you don't really need to reinvent the wheel, but rather you can build on top of the legacy know-how, legacy information that has been stored. But if you are still looking for more reasons to embrace AI, think of all the bias. You may have heard of the shocking cases in systems of justice. Many researchers have highlighted how judges' decisions can be unconsciously influenced by their own personal beliefs. But we don't even need to look that far. Think of the work environment. And for example, employers often grant interviews and different rates to candidates with identical resumes, but with names considered to reflect different social groups, racial groups, sorry. And human decisions are also very difficult to review. People may lie about the factors they considered, or they may not even understand the factors that influence their thinking, leaving room for unconscious bias. But AI can help reduce that bias because it doesn't care if you are from different racial group. Well, technically, it can also reinforce that bias, but that's a whole different subject. So simply, AI learns about the world from the data we feed it in. So if the data is biased, the results will be biased. Luckily, there is more and more stress put into understanding how AI systems are being designed and how they come up with the results they do. Um, so that field, which deals with understanding the process of coming with a solution within the AI, is called explainable AI. But enough of the theory. I want to bring some of the coolest, greatest examples of AI I've seen or I had a pleasure of working on. So let's look at the current situation and the healthcare. COVID, the pandemic. Millions of people across the world have already gotten their COVID-19 vaccine. And that's also thanks to AI. The pace and the scale of the vaccine rollout is unprecedented, and AI plays a crucial role in it. So, healthcare organizations harness AI and machine learning to schedule vaccines, streamline patients' communication, and even prioritize access, because as you can understand, there are so many moving factors. There are also other ways of utilizing AI. One of the projects I had a chance of working on was using NLP, so the AI field helping computers understand human language, to analyze patients' data, which allowed for, in the end, better management of patients' visits. So the system was reviewing both structured and unstructured data from medical records and doctor notes, creating an accurate and more accurate view, the health portrait of the patients, allowing the doctor for a better patient service and potentially faster diagnosis. Another use case I touched on in the beginning of my talk was how AI can be used in crime prevention and better public assistance. AI has proven to be massively beneficial to policing, as big data, a lot of data sets can be processed faster, so the risk assessed much more accurately, and crime or even terrorist attacks predicted and prevented. Simply, AI can help solve more crimes in a shorter period of time. So, according to Home Office data in the UK, the proportion of crimes solved by police in England and Wales has fallen to the lowest level recorded. Crime investigations, as you may have guessed, are inherently expensive because each case takes a lot of man hours, and resources may not be such a big problem for big cities like London or Munich, but smaller cities, resource poor cities, are less able to reduce investigators' caseloads. There are lots of systems and lots of siloed data. AI can cut the time to research and find patterns in data, and also it looks for information in sources where people may not look for, or they even don't know that such the resources exist. Like I mentioned before, traditionally, when a person, a witness, called to report an accident, a person in a control room would take a note and then analyze it as quickly as human can in order to assess the risk level. Based on that, they could dispatch a number of officers according to the seriousness of the situation. However, around 40% of 999 calls, so the emergency calls in the UK, recorded by the Met Police, so the London Police in the UK, are considered non-valuable. So the calls like pranks, miscellaneous, or drop-offs. And this takes valuable time and resources, which otherwise could be assigned to helping people in real danger. What we are seeing is by using AI, the system can automatically analyze what's being said or reported on the call by using speech to text, for example, and then get all the crucial data and surfaces it in real time with minimal human intervention. So it's giving valuable time back to the officers who really need it. And this gives them, as I said, more time to focus on most important task, which is understanding the situation and making informed risk about and ultimately deciding how to handle the situation. And we cannot hide from the fact, whatever it's policing or any other situation, fatigue and stress contribute to many accidents. One of the key advantages of AI and automation for its sense is its ability to stay alert 24 hours a day, focused and relaxed at all times. People react emotionally, computers don't. There are use cases of AI that can have a positive. There are most use cases of AI, I would say, have positive outcome in our lives. But as with everything, there are two sides to the story, like losing jobs to AI, for example. However, in the long term, it may not be necessarily a bad thing. A recent McKinsey report estimates that by 2030, robotics and AI will take human jobs in less than 5%. But on the other side of the coin, it has also been reported that technology like AI will enhance 60% of jobs existing at the time, rather than displace humans altogether. More exciting jobs will be created. And if you think about it, it's hard to imagine, but 10 years ago, professions like data scientist or a YouTuber didn't exist. AI tools and robots, our digital co-workers, will enable people to perform roles that were previously beyond our capabilities. Automated coworkers will also increase our productivity, enabling us to work shorter days, shorter hours, while benefiting the economy as a whole. And if this pandemic taught us anything, is that embracing technology and digital transformation can be done fast. The way we work has rapidly changed. Remote work presents new challenges such as information exchange limits. So, how do we connect and how do we bond with people across distances? How do we enable innovation and brainstorm at scale? To prepare for AI revolution, we need to become more data driven and use technology to improve working practices. What we've noticed working with most successful companies, that they focus on more or less those three areas. They always try to establish a culture of collaboration to unleash innovation. So they are learning from each other. So they allow people learning from each other, and in an environment where it's safe to make mistakes, and it is essential to ensure that new techniques and working practices can be tested safely. They also drive intelligent productivity. So those companies make sure that people are making things worth doing. And they empower employees to focus their time, energy, and brain power on issues that they matter to them the most. This will help to keep employees more engaged and willing to learn more. And the last thing is that these companies make company assets accessible by having a culture of openness where information and knowledge can be shared easily. That allows your talent thrive. Again, AI systems that can help such employees to benefit and tap into knowledge beyond silos will be the one who thrive. To sum up, people use technology to solve problems of our own nature, to reach beyond our own limitations. And AI is perfect example to do that, as it enhances our speed, precision, and effectiveness of our efforts. That's why I believe that we should advocate for human plus AI approach, using AI systems alongside humans, not instead of them, because it will make your employees happy and more productive and efficient. As we progress with AI, we will be able to figure out not only what kind of how to solve problems, but what problems are worth solving. With AI, we will be finally able to get the more comprehensive insight on what the patterns are and what are the areas for improvement. We are finally going to be able to work on things we enjoy, leaving those mundane, repetitive tasks to robots who do much better job than we do. That's why I'm very optimistic about the future of AI. And at Untried, we think that AI will solve many more challenges than it creates. And I hope you will join us on this journey of humanizing work and making our lives easier and better. Thank you.